And we're here one final time for the Richland Coaches Corner Show, brought to you by PES. I'm Mark Mize, once again alongside Richland assistant coach Troy Hughes. Troy, it's great to have you here one final time.
Good to be back, Mark. Good to be here for this last go-around.
And so looking at last week's game, of course, it was the season finale and the Battle of Buford Station versus Cornersville. Just first off, how did you feel about the atmosphere that both teams brought in terms of obviously the rivalry crowds and just the atmosphere on the field as well?
Well, I thought it was a really good atmosphere, Mark. You know, obviously we'd had a disappointing season up until that point, and we weren't for sure about the turnout for Friday night's game, but it was senior night, so that brought a few extra folks out. And of course, Cornersville, knowing they were going to the playoffs, had a good following for Friday night, so it was a really good atmosphere, good weather. It was really nice.
And of course, you had your seniors recognized, had the numbers painted around midfield. Whose idea was that?
I'm not sure. It was kind of a surprise to me. Coach Moose and Coach Murphy do the painting of the fields, and when I walked out and saw it, it was a nice surprise to see.
And so, of course, talking about those seniors, just what have they meant over their tenure here with the program? Obviously, you've had them for 4 years now that you've been an assistant. Just what have they meant overall?
Well, they've been very valuable to the program, and you start talking about Caleb Briggs, which was a four-year player, and I say 4 year. He played for me 2 years in middle school, so he'd been involved in Richland football for 6 years. Dan Hinkle been involved with the football program for 6 years, played 2 in middle school as well. Jairus Darnell is the same, played all the way through middle school, all the way through his senior year of high school. And then we had some, and Jake Norman as well. He was another 6-year guy that played all the way through middle school. So that's several kids that got involved early, which we've got to have. We've got to have more of kids that got involved in middle school and stuck with it through some good times and some bad times, but they stuck through for the most part, all the way through their senior year. And then also we had some newcomers. We had Jimmy Hickman that transferred in, and he played with us for 1 year and was valuable to our team this year, done a lot of good things. And also Sid Adams had been in school and decided he wanted to play football and came out and hung in there with the program, went through all the conditioning, and it was, turned out being a good experience for Sid football, and he was also good for the football program.
And talking individually about Caleb, has to be one of the more prolific rushers in the history of Richland High School football. I believe after I figured up the stats, had more than 3,000 career rushing yards. That's something, that's almost a once-in-a-generation kind of player.
And you're right, and there was some ups and downs throughout that, Mark. Anytime you have to start as a freshman, especially being a little undersized, which Caleb was, he came in as a freshman and started and started in the backfield, which means he was carrying the football quite a bit. Now, there's some pros and cons to that. One being that you get some experience. Two being that the con to that is you're a 14-year-old freshman getting tackled by 17, 18, in some cases 19-year-old men. And he battled through that, and he stuck with it and got better as the time went on. And unfortunately, he got a little banged up this year, which we felt like hampered him as well as hampered us as a team. But he missed one game, and for the most part, he got back out there and never was back 100%. But Caleb's a guy that's he was going to finish this thing out that he started 6 years ago, and he wanted to be on the field, and he gave us everything he had.
And so looking now at the game Friday night versus Cornersville, coming into it, you were talking about the fact that these two teams run extremely similar offensive sets. How did you feel about how that played out on the field, just the experience versus that type? Because obviously it was a low-scoring game, 14-0.
Right. Well, first of all, with that, I believe Cornersville scored 6 points in regulation their first to open the season. They played Mount Juliet Christian, and it ended in a 6-6 tie, and then ended up scoring some points in overtime, which Cornersville ended up losing. And then week 2, Cornersville got beat 8-7 by Collinwood. And then from week 3 on, I believe the fewest amount of points they'd scored was 40 points in a ball game. So we knew going in that we had our hands full trying to stop them. They'd really put up some points over the last 6 weeks. So of course we worked all week, and we knew what they were going to do. Here again, it was the same type of offense, and we were able to do a lot better job with our scout team offense, because we were running the plays and it were plays that we were used to running. So we gave our defense a good look. Coach Murphy and Coach Moose went in and put in a defensive game plan that we felt like would be successful if the kids would make tackles. We were going to have them in the right spot, but they had to make tackles, and for the most part, we made tackles on Friday night, and the kids played hard, fulfilled their responsibilities, and really looked good defensively Friday night.
And so then offensively, obviously had a little bit of trouble, but still had some bright spots in the game. Just how did you feel about how the offense came out and performed against Cornersville?
Well, on the flip side of that, we knew they knew exactly what we were going to do on offense, and they done a good job. Of course, Cornersville's been good defensively all year, and we knew they were going to be tough Friday night, and especially knowing exactly what we were going to do. So we went in and made a few adjustments, a couple different formations to try to outman them one side of the ball or the other, and had a little success. But overall, you know, they were up to the challenge defensively, and they done an exceptional job on defense. You know, we still felt pretty positive about our offense. We were hoping it would be a low-scoring game, and that's what it was. And ultimately, we scored a touchdown. It got called back for a holding call. And there toward the end of the game, we had threw a pass that was just right off Briggs' fingertips that could have possibly been another touchdown. So, you know, we felt like we gave our best effort. We had a pretty good game plan in. The kids played hard. It was just one of those things where, you know, the ball didn't bounce our way, a call didn't go our way, and we came up a little bit short.
You know, just holding Cornersville to only 14 points, and it was the last game for the seniors. Just what was the feeling in the post-game speech and then in the locker room as well for Richland Raiders football?
Well, I always tell this to my kids, you know, from a baseball perspective. And we knew, you know, going into the game, we knew we didn't have a shot to make the playoffs. So, you know, going into the game, this is your last game. As a senior, you know, this is it. This is the final time I'll be on this football field. And you know, the kids went out and played. They played hard. They knew it was their final time on the field. They gave the best effort. They didn't quit till the final horn went off. And that's what Coach Moose has stressed all year, you know. Winning's not always what the final score is. You know, you can be a winner and come up short on the scoreboard, and that's what he stressed to them all year. There's several things that he wants out of the kids that come through this program, and for the most part, all year long, we fulfilled that, and the kids fulfilled what he asked out of them, and you know, when it's all said and done, we felt like that everybody that went through the season this year and finished the season with us were winners, you know, whether or not we had the highest number of points on the scoreboard or not.
You're watching the Richland High School Coaches Corner Show, brought to you by PS. We'll be back after a quick timeout.
Here at First Baptist Pulaski, we are not perfect people. To perhaps consider, this is terrible. Start that again. You're going to delete all these, right? Don't keep these.
Fellowship's the word I was looking for. Doofus. Yeah, you put that in the reel.
And this is still rolling. Oh, for the outtakes.
But we would love for you to join us in worshiping a perfect God.
Hashtag struggle, right?
I've got my closest friends over to watch the game on cable. Did you know you can advertise your local business during this cable program? Via Media represents the advertising for your cable system. They could put a TV commercial for you right here on this system during this show. Let Via Media help you. Call Via Media today or viamediatv.com.
Here in Tennessee, when opportunity knocks,
First Farmers is here.
A full-service bank with deep roots.
First Farmers is here.
Loans to help businesses grow and families plan for the future.
First Farmers is here.
The technology you need to manage your personal finances.
First Farmers is here.
As Middle Tennessee continues to grow, First Farmers, we're here.
We're back here on the Richland High School Coaches Corner Show, brought to you by PES. I'm Mark Mize, currently talking with Richland assistant coach Troy Hughes. Troy, we just got done recapping the game against Cornersville, and now let's take a look toward next season, of course, and what we expect to see on the field for the Richland Raiders football program. So you were talking about during the timeout is you have 25 returning players that all stuck with the program this year and are expected to be back next year, and you have quite a large class of 8th graders to add as well.
Right, and that's going to be a key, and it always is a key no matter what the athletic event is, which sport you're talking about, is having as many returning guys as possible. And like you just mentioned, we got 25 guys that finished the season with us this year that were either freshmen, sophomores, or juniors. So, our goal is as a coaching staff to make sure those guys and go through their off-season workout program, stay with football. It's a big thing that we've struggled with over the years. Is a kid will play 1 or 2 years and decide he don't want to play his junior and senior year, or a kid will sit out his freshman and sophomore year and decide to come out and play his junior and senior year. And when you do that, it puts you behind the 8 ball a little bit. We really need these kids to stay in the program for 4 years. From a lot of different perspectives. Strength and conditioning is first and foremost, but also learning the offense, learning the position you're going to play. There's a lot of off-season stuff that we do that it's important for kids to be there and to learn. So, and then, of course, as you mentioned, we got a pretty good group of 8th graders coming up, numbers-wise and skill-wise, some good players that we feel like are going to be able to contribute next year on Friday night. So, the big thing is we've got to continue to grow in our numbers and to get kids out involved in the program.
And so just looking at the skill positions first, of course, you lose Caleb and Jimmy, but had quite a few players who stepped into some offensive roles that they may not have seen as much time in years past, like Gus McGowan, Latrell Daly, William Houston, Tyler Young. Just how do you feel about what you have coming back at the skill positions?
Well, skill-wise, we got a pretty good core coming back. You mentioned Gus McGowan. Latrell Daly, done a lot of things for us this year. William Houston caught a few balls for us and probably didn't utilize him as much as what we should have looking back on the season. But William's a guy that kind of come on and got stronger as the year went on, so he's definitely a positive for next year. Quarterback Braxton Woodard is obviously coming back with the years of experience, which is going to really help him. Also, we've got Jace Urwich that we haven't talked much about this year from the offensive side of the ball, that was a freshman this year that ended up playing some fullback for us, played some wing running back for us, and really came on as the season progressed. So definitely from a skill position, we've got some guys coming back that we feel like can really help next year.
And looking at the battle in the trenches, I believe on the offensive line you only lose one starter. How do you feel about that offensive and defensive front?
Well, obviously, and we struggled a little bit up front this year because we were so young. At times we had 2 and 3 freshmen playing on the offensive line, and anytime you have that many young kids playing on the offensive line, you're going to struggle. Jarris Darnell, obviously a senior, is graduating this year, and we'll have to replace him. But the positive part of that is we've got some guys coming back with some experience. We just have to build off of, what they did this year.
And then looking at the fact that this year, last year you had seniors. One of the most interesting things coming into this year was you had 5 different guys last year coming into the season who had started at linebacker were all not returning because they were seniors or had a transfer as well. So do you feel better about considering the fact that the seniors seem to be all the way across all of the offensive and defensive position groups, rather than having just one center group that you're going to have to completely just redo?
Right, for sure. We had a mixture when we're talking about seniors. There were some linemen, there were some skilled people, some secondary guys, so it wasn't really just concentrated in one area. From the defensive side of the ball, especially, of course, Dan Hinkle went out early, which was a linebacker for us, and wasn't able to finish the season. So at that point, we started having to move guys around and looking for some different linebackers, and we found some guys, and fortunate for us, they happened to be young guys, sophomores and juniors. So, we should be pretty sound at the linebacker position for next year. Of course, Gus McGowan will be returning next year as a secondary guy, and he's as good a safety as there is, in our league. So, and across the front defensively, we lose the defensive lineman or 2. but for the most part, we should be in pretty good shape defensively. We just got to get some guys in there and do a good job of coaching them up this off season and try to get them ready to go for next year.
And so finally, I know that this is obviously something where the coaching staff looks at the film, they look at the personnel they have and decide throughout the offseason what they're going to do next season. But just early predictions, do you feel confident about the system you're running right now? Do you think it's the same kind of system you'll be running next year?
I believe so. Coach Moose and I and Coach Murphy and I, we all sat down and talked, and we like what we did offensively. We would like to add some variety into what we've done offensively, expand the playbook, so to speak, a little bit, put some midline in there, which we dabbled with a little bit the last game or two of the season, and it looked really good. And that's, when you're running midline and veer, that's something you've got to work on from day one as far as the quarterback and the fullback mesh point, and being able to read the defensive lineman you're wanting to read. So we didn't have a whole lot of time to work on that, but that's something that's going to be worked on in the off season, and we feel like that'll be something we can implement into the foot-to-foot offense, the double wing that we run, that'll expand it a little bit. And also we're going to really work hard on throwing the football. Braxton's really come a long way this year, and we feel like we're going to have some skilled guys that can catch the football next year, and we're going to work hard on being able to, if teams put 8 and 9 guys in the box, we're going to be able to complete passes and make you pay for it.
Well, I wanted to personally thank you for joining us on the show this year. How did you feel about your first year on television?
Well, I enjoyed it, Mark. It's looking back to my younger days, I was somebody that was camera shy and still not real fond of getting my picture made or whatnot, but I've enjoyed talking football with you, and I do have one thing to say. I want to thank all of those that came out and supported the Richland football program. I want to thank the administration, athletic director, coaches, and those that are involved in football and the coaching aspect know how much time is put into it, and we put in as much time as anybody. You go 1-9, you think, well, these guys really didn't do a whole lot of coaching, but as far as film breakdown and game planning and practice planning, Coach Moose, Coach Murph put in as much time as anybody, and want to say thanks to all our wives, for the late nights and coming in at 8 and 9 o'clock on the weeknights, and then 2 or 3 o'clock on the weekends. So I want to thank everybody that was involved in the program and the support during the course of the year.
Well, we want to thank everyone who tuned in this year to the Richland High School Coaches Corner Show. For one final time, I'm Mark Mize alongside Richland assistant coach Troy Hughes. Thanks for joining us this year on the Richland Coaches Corner Show, sponsored by PES.